Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly spectacular. We're setting the stage for a breathtaking journey to a place most people don't even know exists. We're heading to the edge of southern China, deep into the Asian interior, to look to a literal geographical marvel. By pulling together on-the-ground accounts, deep geological data, and just some absolutely stunning visual records, we're going to uncover the secrets of Linzhi, a place often called Tibet's Hidden Garden. So if you think you know what the roof of the world looks like, well, prepare to have that perspective completely flipped.
Okay, let's dive right into this. When most of us picture Tibet, we instantly think of this harsh, barren plateau, right? Freezing temperatures, extreme high altitudes, just a rocky, really unforgiving environment. But then there's Linzhi. It sits way lower at an elevation of about 3,000 meters, and because of that altitude drop, the oxygen levels are higher, and the entire landscape is just absolutely draped in these lush, vibrant forests. It is so radically different from your standard image of Tibet that travelers actually call it Tibet's Little Switzerland. It's literally an oasis tucked away in the mountains. And this little pocket of life, it only exists because it's sitting on the edge of something truly monstrous.
To really wrap our heads around Linzhi, we have to look at the crazy geography that defines it. Now, when we talk about the world's greatest canyons, Arizona's Grand Canyon usually steals the spotlight, right? It maxes out at a really impressive 1,857 meters deep. And yeah, Hell's Canyon up in Idaho beats that at 2,458 meters. But the Yarlung-Zangbo Grand Canyon out in Linzhi, it utterly dwarfs them both, plunging to an astonishing world record depth. We are talking 6,009 meters. That's 19,714 feet. Just to put that into perspective, that is a gorge more than 3 times deeper than the Grand Canyon. 3 times. And it's flanked on both sides by these massive glacier-covered peaks that tower over 20,000 feet into the sky. Honestly, it's a scale of geography that's almost impossible for the human brain to fully process when you're actually standing on the edge of it.
And here's the thing, this colossal canyon doesn't just drop straight down in one spot. It stretches for an unbelievable 504.9 kilometers, winding all the way from Tadaka village through this rugged mountainous terrain down to Boxica. Now, you'd probably assume a gouge this massive was carved out by giant glaciers during the last ice age, right? Well, actually, scratch that. Recent research tells a totally different story. If you look closely at the tight canyons the Yarlung-Tungpo River runs through, they don't have that wide U shape you'd expect from a glacially carved valley. Instead, they have this really sharp, classic V shape. And that tells geologists that this huge 6,000-meter deep trench was carved mainly by fierce, ultra-aggressive river erosion, mostly in just the last 3 to 4 million years.
Let's step back and see how this builds, because to understand how water could slice through solid rock on that massive of a scale, we have to look at the macro-level tectonic forces that literally birthed the Himalayas. So, 100 million years ago, the Indian tectonic plate snaps off from Antarctica and Madagascar and starts drifting north as an island. Fast forward to 50 million years ago, and boom, it violently collides with the Eurasian plate. This massive crash forced the Earth upwards, creating the Himalayas, and actually caused the subducting part of the Indian plate to snap off completely. But get this, even with all that intense mountain building, the area where our canyon is today, it started out as just a gently sloping river valley.
Then, roughly 2.5 million years ago, everything flips. A highly localized section of the Himalayas suddenly starts lifting up at a staggering rate. We're talking about 3 meters per century. This incredibly rapid upward thrust created a steep depression that quickly filled with water, forming this massive lake. Eventually, that lake couldn't hold anymore and just overtopped its boundary. Driven by this brand new super steep slope, the water accelerated to insanely high speeds, dragging huge fragments of rock and sediment with it that essentially acted like liquid sandpaper, violently gouging away at the bedrock. That high-speed erosion over 2.5 million years is exactly what carved away up to 15,000 feet of rock in some places to create the deepest canyon on Earth. So we've got the deepest trench on the planet. But what about the peaks looming over it? Let's move up from the dark depths of the gorge to the colossal mountain that watches over Linzhi.
Part 1. The Hero Landscape, Namcha Barwa. Now, this mountain is famous, but not just because of its sheer size. It is notoriously elusive. The weather system trapped inside this canyon is incredibly volatile. You've got travelers and photographers who will literally camp out for weeks, battling freezing rain, snow, and dense clouds, just praying for a fleeting glimpse of the peak. As one traveler so perfectly put it in our sources, they waited half a month just to see it, adding that it's a snow mountain people rarely see, even in 10 out of 10 attempts. This is a landscape that absolutely demands extreme patience. But man, when those clouds finally do part,
The mountain commands absolute respect. And this brilliantly illustrates why locals revere it so much. The peak is called Namcha Barwa, which in Tibetan translates to spear piercing the sky. And when you look at its massive, jagged, triangular shape, which is just permanently encased in snow and ice, that name makes total sense, doesn't it? It literally looks like a frozen spearhead violently bursting out of the Earth's crust, standing proudly at 7,782 meters, right on the eastern edge of the Himalayas.
Part 2. Life in the Hidden Garden, Suosang Village.
All right, let's zoom in from that massive planetary scale down to the human scale. Because right in the shadow of that giant sphere, nestled deep inside the canyon, are these incredible small communities that have completely thrived in this hidden garden. What draws people to places like Suosang Village is its stunning forest culture and, most famously, its peach blossoms. From late March to mid-April, the whole region just explodes in this delicate light pink color. But these aren't your typical manicured farm orchards. These are Tibetan wild peaches. There's zero artificial cultivation happening here. The trees grow completely wild, their branches reaching out in totally unpredictable directions. On its own, a single tree might not catch your eye, but when they're scattered across those vast valleys, they look exactly like a blanket of pink snow settling over the landscape.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the incredible visual tension it creates. Think about it. You have this impossibly harsh, towering 7,782 meters silver peak of Namcha Barwa looming in the background. And then resting directly below it, right in the valley, is this soft, delicate pink ocean of wild blossoms. It's this exact contrast, the violent, freezing forces of ancient geology colliding with the fragile, fleeting beauty of a spring bloom that makes Linzhi an absolute dream for anyone lucky enough to time the weather perfectly.
Part 3. Echoes of the Past, Shudang Monastery.
But beyond the raw natural beauty, there are deep, deep cultural roots embedded right into these canyon walls. Human devotion has somehow managed to survive in this isolated, high-altitude garden for centuries. Just a short distance from the spectacular glaciers sits the Shudang Monastery, which is an over 500-year-old site belonging to the Tibetan Gelug sect. But unlike the bustling, vibrant temples you'd see in bigger cities, this monastery paints a really poignant picture of fading glory. Its protective courtyard walls are slowly crumbling, literally yielding to time and the harsh elements. There isn't a living Buddha in residence anymore, and today, fewer than 30 monks remain there to keep the traditions alive. Up above the isolated main hall, these red-billed chubs, which are a type of high-altitude crow, just constantly circle the sky. It really leaves visitors standing in that quiet courtyard forced to imagine just how magnificent and glorious this place must have been during its absolute peak half a millennium ago.
So, what does this all mean? Well, Linzhi completely shatters our preconceived expectations. It's this lush, vibrant, living world tucked away inside the deepest crack on the surface of the Earth, guarded by a colossal mountain that literally hides from the sun. Which leaves us with this final thought. If a massive 6,009-meter canyon, a 7,000-meter peak, and a hidden peach blossom paradise can remain this elusive and unspoiled, what other magnificent secrets are hiding just out of sight in our planet's most remote regions? Thanks so much for exploring with us today, and we will see you in the next explainer.